When I was in Venezuela,
okay.
I got this phone call saying, Grant, I need you to, a friend of mine, I need you to, Mark Robinson, I need you to manage a cruise ship.
Okay.
I said, Mark, I've never been on a cruise ship before and I'm retired. And then I'm thinking, hang on a minute, I need a job.
Yeah.
And I can get out of Venezuela because this is really, the walls are coming in, you know. So I said, okay, send me a ticket and I'll go and have a look at the ship. And it was just made for me, you know, because it's a cruise ship. You know, I had some experience in casino, I had a hotel, I had a restaurant, a bar. So what do you have on cruise ships? Casinos, restaurants, bars,
True.
Spas. So this was made for me. My whole background was tours and tour operating. And there's a big element of tour operating on board. So this was really made for me. So I said to him, yes, I'll give it a go. And whatever target you have, I think they had £500,000 above what they'd made the previous year. And I told them to double it because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And, you know, we could really do something here. And, you know, and the rest is history. And that's how I joined.
So from Venezuela, you went to...
I
Miami?
went to Dominican Republic to see the ship.
Okay.
And then I ended up back in the UK.
What was the name of the ship? Do you remember?
The ship was called the Bolero.
The Bolero.
Yeah, the MV Bolero. And it was First Choice Cruises where I started. I was like director of operations. And I had a choice to go to live on board or live ashore. And I decided to live on board. There's only one ship, so I may as well learn the industry from the ship.
True.
And so that was a great experience, you know. And I had no time to think about Venezuela, you know. It just completely left my mind because I was working 16, 18 hours a day, all day, every day on board and learning the trade as well. And I was assigning myself for certain hours to every department and actually do the job to learn what their challenges are, what the pain points were, you know, where the bottlenecks were, how it could affect guest satisfaction. And I took on all the complaints initially because I just wanted to know everything and absorb it. And I had this long line initially of guests trying to complain to me. But then as the weeks and months went on and we trained the team, you know, there were cobwebs in my office because nobody was coming to complain. And we were, you know, proactively anticipating everything. And I learned that, you know, on board is a community, you know, and I learned the value of that community and engaging with all the people of all the decks and all the different the different positions on board, you know, whether it be deck, engine, hotel, you know, and it was a great learning curve for me, you know, because I had responsibility for that ship.
I would like to come back to Venezuela story once again.
Yes.
Maybe we'll just talk about this story for 5 more minutes. How did you become millionaire in Venezuela? That's very exciting.
How did I
become millionaire in Venezuela? So how did you land up Venezuela and started business?
Well, Venezuela was a very rich country. It was the longest serving democracy of South America. So when people look at Venezuela today, it was not like that when I went there in 1990. Yeah? And I got a golden job. Yeah? It was a tour operating job, and I had to open Venezuela to the world, to British tourism, basically. And there was an island there called Margarita, Isla de Margarita. And so we had 2 charters a week, and I had to manage that. And then eventually I became the manager of the Caribbean because we had Aruba, Grenada, Dominican Republic, other locations involved. But mostly it was in Margarita. So I did that for 2 years, and I had to go on television a lot, you know, because we were representing like British tourism. I had a lot of connections with the British consulate and embassy, and helped them in Margarita as well. So that went very well. But one winter they decided to pull out, and I still had all the allotments on the planes, and all the tours, everything organized. So I just took over those allotments myself
Oh.
and did the business myself. I still went to Portugal every year for a short summer, which was the low season for Venezuela, and then went the high season for Margarita. But then Margarita became, more and more prosperous, and the tourism exploded.
Tourism,
Things were going very well. I was in the right place at the right time. And I was investing every time. I had a Jeep Safari, and we were selling chartered planes to the highest waterfall in the world, Angel Falls. You would fly around Devil's Canyon, and then they would take you to a place called Canaima. We would take them on an adventurous trip under a waterfall, and I would call it the Indiana Jones adventure. And that's when the films were famous at that time, so it really helped the sales. I took the BBC out there. I went on a prime time TV program called Jim Will Fix It to show how someone else to be a rep. So it was a good timing more than anything else, and it was all in tourism, which was my area of expertise at the time. So things went very well, but then they went horribly wrong towards the end of the 90s, and the writing was on the wall. And I managed to sell only 2 apartments at the value of 25% of the value, just to get out. When the walls were crushing down. So if one apartment was worth 250, you'd be selling it for 25. Something like that. So it was a crazy time. But life moves on, and I don't think we own anything in this life. And fortunately, I've always felt that. I feel that we are just the custodians of time.
Just the travelers in the world called Earth. Yeah.
Yes, and it's painful to go back to things. You need to move forward. So it was, I think, and also you need to kick up the arse every so often, and that's what it gave, because I've become complacent and lazy, and not lazy, but I had.
Yeah, you've achieved so much.
I'd lost the challenge of everything,
true.
And I needed a change. I needed a challenge. I needed to, and I was so comfortable in Venezuela, and I learned since that comfort is the enemy of achievement.
True.
When you feel too comfortable,
it's gone.
You're not going to achieve, because you're not going to. It's the pain and the effort and the struggle and the creativity and the focus. And you realize the best times in your life was when you were growing, not when you made it.
When you reached there.
So it's good to make it, finish it all, and start again, and then you've got all the beauty of going up again, so.
Yeah, in my last podcast, there was a guy called Captain Dhruv. He's from Delhi. I asked him a question. What's so fulfilling about this startup journey? Because he's doing a startup. So he's like, Rajat, the answer is in your question only. It's the journey.
Yes.
So it's the journey which keeps me motivated and, keeps me going. So as you rightly said, it's about the experiences that you get across when you're moving up.
Yes, and I always did things that I was passionate about, that I enjoyed, and that is a great focus to have, to always do what you love, and then you can become a success.
True.
I feel that it's very difficult to be a success in anything if you're not passionate about it.
Yeah, true.
Because and you need that desire. Desire is the fire that makes you want to do something.
Obsession.
Yes. And you need that. Otherwise,
it's very difficult.
You become indefatigable when you have that desire to want to do something. So,
true.
And I had it, but when I lost it, it didn't feel the same.